INTHEMIXSTYLE Radio.
Hola a todos, soy Melódico y directamente desde Suecia escucha la mejor radio mundial. INTHEMIXSTYLE Radio.
Vaya, somos la comisión, los reyes urbanos que están escuchando la radio mundial. INTHEMIXSTYLE Radio, music for the world. Let's go.
INTHEMIXSTYLE Radio.
Hi, and welcome to another presentation of In the Mix Style. Now we're doing it in English. And now we have, this evening, we have a very great invitation to make all of you. And we have a great writer here at our studio, and he's called Simon Chilembo, and he's a South African writer that lives here in Norway. And he's coming to talk a bit about his books and how he sees his life, and how he sees the love, and how he sees the world in general. And hi, Simon.
Hi,
how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very pleased to have you in our studio. Very honored.
Yes, the honor is mine. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell us, Simon, how are your books feeling today?
My books are feeling great. they feel great every day, you know, since I started to write. My first book here, When the Mighty Fall, came out in the ebook version anyway, came up end of November 2015. So I'm new, you know, in the business.
You're new in the business.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
How many books have you written until now?
Until now, I've written 6, as they stand here.
Okay.
And they came in very rapid succession. You know, when the inspiration came, you know, I just couldn't stop. They were written in 18 months. You know.
18 months.
Yes.
So many books.
Yeah.
How did this was a virus that got into you, or have you written have you thought about written before? How this initiative came? It came suddenly, or does it? Do you write from before that?
No, the opportunity to write came like that.
Okay.
But the vision, you know, the desire to write, you know, I've been carrying since. You know, my teenage, you know, when I was 15, my first poem I wrote when I was 15, but I didn't get a chance, you know, until August 2015. You know, it came out like that, you know, and I just couldn't stop, and I won't stop. This is the future as I see it for me, you know, writing books. I hope in the next few years I'll be able to write on a permanent basis, live off writing, yes.
But how do you take that? Did you take that step to sit there and think? Did you thought about it many years? I want to write a book. I want to write a book. Or how did you? How was that step to making a book? Because it's difficult. It's not people don't do that every day.
In 1975, January, my family managed to escape from South Africa into Zambia. My father came from Zambia.
Okay.
And we got to Zambia in March of the same year, and I lived together with my uncle in Zambia, Mr. Oliver Chilembo. And one of the things that one of the strongest impressions he made upon me was that one day we're just talking about things, you know. And he says, you know, one day I will write a book about our family, you know. And since that time, you know, I just said to myself, you know, yeah, I'll write a book like my uncle will do, you know. And it's been like that, you know, throughout. But then I got so fascinated by my father as an immigrant from Zambia into South Africa. And many people like him. But, you know, it's my father. He's the first person that I could relate myself to. And I was fascinated by how foreigners come into South Africa, you know, as cheap labor and all that, you know, how they manage to, despite, you know, all the challenges of, you know, South Africa in the old days, you know, apartheid, you know, and all that, and how they were, what made them tick. You know, they were lowly paid, and they experienced at least double discrimination, discrimination from apartheid itself, but also xenophobia. But many of them managed, to settle in South Africa, get married, and have children. Me, for example, and my two siblings. I've always been fascinated by that, and especially since I came to Norway myself in 1988. And although my intention was to come here, study, and eventually go back, to South Africa, and but I'm still here, and all the challenges of being an immigrant. That's been a great fascination for me, and that's what I address. I address with my books.
Yeah, you were telling me before we started the show, when you came about a bit about the books you write it, and maybe you can start to explain about the first book you wrote, and what it means to you. What is the meaning of this book? Because like I experienced with you now, it's like every book has a reflection, a meaning that it's very important, because it's like like I said in the beginning, it's like it is a birth, it's life, it's family, like you told, it's like love, it's reflections about different parts of life. Tell us about the first book.
All that from a different perspective. The theme, the themes are constant. The first book, When the Mighty Fall, I must say also that these books, the stories, the themes that they take, it's a very spontaneous thing. So the first book was originally intended to be the story inspired by my father's life, but it turned out to be it's about my life. It turned out to be a story of my life in Norway, from the time I first came in August 1988 to 2013, when I went to South Africa, tired, and all that. And so and it's what they call auto-fiction, fantasy memoir. It's like a mixture of reality and fiction. And in this book here, I address, my experiences, my challenges in Norway, and also thinking about, if I were my father, how would I? If my father were in my situation in Norway, how would he have dealt with my circumstances here of finding a job, rebranding oneself? I came as a student, and I fell in love, for life. I stayed here, and I started something. I started to teach karate, working with Norwegian children and everything. Suddenly I realized, I can't get away from here, I have a life here. And ended up doing, the business, working for myself. And
so it's a bit like the story of an immigrant that comes to a new country.
Yeah.
It could when the mighty fall.
Yes, yeah. When the mighty fall, many of us, and remember again, I write and think from a man's perspective. But I can postulate, that I want to postulate, and I do postulate that, many of us men, and again, having seen this from my father and people like him, South Africa, when we leave our countries, coming out to Europe, America, and all these places, and we have these big dreams. We're going to get education, we're going to get jobs, and make money and everything. And sometimes it works, other times it doesn't. It did eventually work for me. When the great success, in business, and I made big monies, sent money back home, and all that, and I lived high, driving Mercedes-Benz cars, and Rolex watches, living at Truth Holman, that kind of thing, and then comes a finance crisis, in 2008, and all hell breaks loose, and then the mighty fall.
When the mighty falls.
Yes. So then, then I fell. And when the inspiration to write came, it was my way to rise, from the fall after 2.5 years, of depression, when I go to South Africa, yes. And then I say, the main title, When the Mighty Fall, what the only thing they need, to rise again is love, and love from, it can be romantic love, it can be love from, family and friends, society, love for something, an activity. I did lots of gardening, I did lots of long walks, and not in the least, the writing itself, yes.
Interesting. And tell us about the other that came like after that one.
Yeah, and I had been writing a blog prior to all this, just the reflections on this, on that, and
do you still have it?
I still have it, yes, yeah.
Still have it?
Yeah, it's called the Chilembo Warrior Moves, or, just the chilembo.com, it will redirect you, to the blog. So I just, my thoughts, about this and that, various topics, from the arts and the politics, and, when I discovered that going back to South Africa, it wasn't a mistake, no. But because I had lived, for 38 years, with this painful longing on a daily basis, for the land of my birth, that many of us do, and when you have this fixed picture, that the grass is indeed green on the other side, but then you after 38 years, I found that no, everything and everybody, even including myself, has changed, and I failed totally, to reconnect. And then what do I do? And talking about depression, I had worked with this thing, professionally as a life coach, and I told myself I'll fix myself. And one of the things that I did was to write very openly, honestly, in my blog about my experiences, in South Africa, having fallen without any money, without any influence, because money talks,
Yeah, that's true.
I lost everything, I lost the prestige, and I lost face, and all that, and so then I write about that,
So that's a book more based in your experience in South Africa.
Yeah, as I wrote. So the blog articles, I compressed them, edited them to suit a book form. Because internet might collapse one day, but so you have to.
It's good to have it on book,
yes,
then.
Yeah. So, but and then with this book number 2 comes a series of Machona.
That's where Machona comes in.
Yes,
I'm going to ask you about it when you finish
in Southern Africa, Zambia, South Africa, Machona means immigrant.
Immigrant.
Okay. One who leaves one's country for it doesn't matter, but you just leave. Usually for a long time, might come back after many years, or might be for good.
Okay.
It's derived from the verb ukuchona, to disappear, to vanish.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So upon my reflections, I found that that home is not only about where the heart is, but is how you think. How you reflect about the situation wherever you are. And so I got this awakening, that indeed South Africa, is my home. I was born there, and Zambia is my home, it's my fatherland, but do I belong here? What is home? And I found that, I had lived 25 years straight in Norway, working very tight, close, into Norwegian society, especially children and youth, so that affected me deeply, and then my awakening, my realization, just like aha, that no, my home is Norwegian, it is Norway, and in my head, it doesn't necessarily make me Norwegian.
No,
but the fact is, I found it, where I function, where I thrive, spiritually, mentally, creatively, and all that.
Where do you have your life right
where
now?
I have my life right now, that the life that I built over so many years, the sacrifices that I made, everything that I gave, but not in the least what I received, things that define me, nowhere has impacted me so hard, so for me, this is my home. And, it's a matter of both the heart and the head, that you have to think about.
And there's a lot of people that don't understand that when you live like outside, and it happens to everyone that are foreigners in another country. How is this accepted by your African people? How do you act when you tell them that? It creates like a reaction?
It creates reaction,
because it's not easy to tell
it's not
people
easy.
from the same country.
Because we are so very different.
Yeah.
Our family backgrounds. Some people come from well-off families. Some people come from royalties. They are princes. They are princesses. They have inheritances. You know what I mean. They've. I come from a very simple family. My parents barely survived. I'm nothing. If there's a rich person in my family, broke as I am, I'm the richest. Everything starts with me. My parents could have only, to the best of their ability, see that we get some decent education and relocating or escaping to Zambia, getting exiled into Zambia helped a lot. Got you free university education, that I'll remain forever grateful for. And so I can only talk about my reality. Even today, I don't have, a family safety net. I have myself. And my friends, and Norwegian society, and all, to fall back on, when times are hard. Some people, they go back home, they have things waiting for them, it's different, but all the same, I think it is important to appreciate, the impact that the place that you live for many years, regardless. The culture, everything, it impacts you in one way or the other. So before one takes a decision to say, now I am going back home, I'm tired, or some people might even say, I'm fed up, now I want to go back home. That's where I rule, and say everything, life is. But I want people to reflect, on that reality, that, the place, we've lived many years here. It impacts you in one way or the other. And I'm also fascinated by not only what happens to us abroad, but what happens to the people we leave behind.
That's true.
So when we get back, these people have certain expectations, like when we come to Europe, money and everything is everywhere, falls from the trees, but actually we have to climb these trees, It's a lot of work, we hustle, and it's hard. To be us, in this world, But people don't understand, And when we get that anticlimax, like, it happened to me, then it was a great shock, But it doesn't happen to other people, like I say, they have their, things waiting for them, inheritances, etc., whereas for me, people are waiting for me to die in South Africa so they can inherit the little that I have. But
I hope that it's not. It's not like that.
No, I'm going to live many years. Sorry, guys.
But you called like your first that we call that. You explain now, Machona. You got a lot of books that comes after that. You call the same. Why?
Yes, it's the theme so far. It's this migration.
So that's the point of
that's the point of entry.
Entry.
And I'm looking at it from different perspectives. Like for example, in this one, in this in fact this is the original Machona.
That's the first one.
That's the first one in the series. Yes, and this is where I'm looking at my father.
Okay.
And people like him, first generation, immigrant, and the aspirations, that he, and others like him, they are going to work, they are going to strike it big, and all that. So in this book here, Machona, the main character, ends up being, the richest man in Africa, and it's already in the 1970s, during apartheid, he breaks all the rules, but that is because, that's the aspiration, that people have, that we also. When I came to Norway, I had all those aspirations, I got mighty, I fell. Am I going to rise again? Yes, I am.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like the phoenix.
The phoenix, why not? Yes, and gather, gather oneself. And Machona's son.
Machona's son.
Machona's son, here, it's me, the first generation. I don't have children of my own yet. But Machona's son is the third generation, looking, at the second generation and then the first generation. How the third generation now, this person is born and bred in South Africa, doesn't know anything about Zambia or Norway for that matter. But, what do they become, Are they
it's like a mirror, these books, like if you put them like upon each other.
Yes.
It's like you can maybe look at it like that. If it is like a mirror, like looking at, like you told us, like from different perspectives.
Yeah, from different perspectives. So same challenge, same theme, same reality, but viewed and understood from different perspectives. And then in this one here, Machona blogs. It's also a collection of just the different themes, seen also from the perspective of being an immigrant.
Okay.
How do I look? My understanding of Brexit, for example, from my perspective in Norway. I'm not only looking at it, from that I live in Norway now, but I still carry a lot of luggage. From Zambia, from South Africa, what does Brexit mean? What does problems in Venezuela, all that. So when I write and express opinions in my blog, it's not just this Superman that I like to think I am, but it's a synthesis. I'm a synthesis of what I have gathered, from where I come originally, South Africa, and lived in Zambia, in Norway, all the influences that I've had, of
interesting, that blog.
Yes,
Very interesting.
Yes.
And you got the last one there?
Yeah.
Or that's the latest. That's one.
It's not the last.
It's not the last. No, that's what's wrong of it. But the last you've written until now, you published.
The latest in the series is Machona Mother. Now, this one here is inspired by my mother.
Okay.
As a South African.
And that's the thickest one.
That's the thickest one. My mother was a big mama, of course.
That's why you did the book like that?
Yes,
or you get more information.
There's a lot more.
More information.
About her, and the thing about my parents, people can speak about their own parents and life experiences. These are very special people who, in my eyes anyway, they came from very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And especially my mother's side, my mother's people, especially on the grandmother's side, her generation, they are some of the poorest people, you can come across anywhere in the world, all, but that poverty and misery, you can trace it, from inception of apartheid in South Africa. You see, when my grandmother's people, great grandparents' people, get pushed away, from their fertile, land, they lose everything. They end up, in this, to this day, you can't grow anything, where, my mother's people on the maternal side, the family are, and, you can really go. So when sensitive questions now in South Africa, when you say we want our land back, much is the same, in Latin America, it's the same. You know, so this is, you know, this is a big story that touches, you know, the big themes, you know, like land, you know, that in South Africa. But also, you know, I hold a view that, and also from observing my mother, again, this is not the book about my mother's life. It's not about me. It's inspired by observing her. You know, and women like her, you know, all foreign women, all local women who marry foreign men. I hold the view that women like who do that don't get the respect they deserve, because living together with a foreigner is no easy game. It's a big challenge, you know. Talk about culture clashes, you know, and all that, you know. The relationship might work, might be dynamite, you know, between the man and the woman, but, you know, I look also at the external, you know, the immediate families, you know, and all that, you know. It's a lot of hard work, you know.
And consequences.
And consequences, you know, that, you know, suddenly, you know, people can't live together, you know, the foreigner and the local, you know. Your family is not good at, you know, with me, you know, your friends, you know, your colleagues, you know, and, you know, some of us from South Africa are very sensitive, you know, racism, you know, and all that, you know, you're racist, you know. And then when I take my my Norwegian, you know, ex now, but, you know, going to South Africa and all that, you know, the people are looking, you know, with apartheid minds,
mentality.
you know, you know, so although this is me looking at my mother, it could be the other way around. You know, that there been a local man, you know, who marries, you know, a foreign woman. You know, that so it's an interesting dynamic for me. You know, so such that, you know, philosophically, I like to say, you know, that, you know, were I a woman, I wouldn't dare to marry a foreign man. But Barack Obama's mother married that Kenyan guy, and we got Barack Obama, you know. My mother married my father, and look what we got, you know.
Yeah, you got Simone Tilembo.
Oh, yes, you know. But, you know, just from a pragmatic, you know, perspective, you know, that, but the world is changing now. You know, we live in the 21st century, you know, that, you know, that, you know, I'm black, I'm green, you know, I'm this tribe, I'm that, you know, just things of the past, you know. So with these books, you know, I'm hoping, I want, you know, my wish, you know, my goal, you know, is to inspire people, you know, to understand that, you know, the world is getting smaller, and, you know, we are going to get more and more of interracial, intertribal, interethnic relations just going on and on. You know, these are children, you know, like me and others, you know, so-called third, second generation, and others. These are people of the future. I have this vision, you know, that in 100, 200 years, you know, monoracials, monoethnics will be... You know?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
I see also that you are a man of a lot of reflections, also in these books, and with a lot of love and humble.
Yeah.
You are very humble, and that's very good, because it makes you like a very good person.
Thank you.
But are you going to still write about Matana in the future? Are you continuing with the Matana view or vision?
Yes.
Or
yes.
are you going to switch over to another themes that you are interested in?
This theme is very big. You know, I still have. I'm working on two more in parallel. One is, at least you know, the working title, because these things change, you know, as they progress. But the working title, you know, is Machona Combats. You know, that the struggles, you know, that this foreign man. You know, in this case, you know, it's my experience. The actual combats that did not come in this one.
Okay.
But this, you see, this one is about Norway, my life in Norway. But Machona Combat traces my life, you know, from the beginning to this point.
Okay.
You know, like when I was a child, I was very tiny. in relation to my, my age mates, child up to 10, 11 years old. So I was mobbed a lot, for my size. Not only that, but I was a child of a foreigner. And not only that, not only for a child of a foreigner, I was very dark, colorism, so I had to fight all the time. Fortunately, I used to win, physical fight and all that, older boys, gave me a bit of extra challenge. And then when puberty sets on, suddenly I bulge, from being the tiny guy to this fat guy. To this day, I still suffer, suffer. With weight, I pay for it. I love food also, so.
You still enjoy food. That's very good.
Food, but combats, my health, the efforts, what I have to do to maintain my wealth, my health, wealth and health, all the challenges that I have to go through. When you go concussion, you become insolvent, and what do you do? How do you tackle that? How do you tackle,
and in a foreign country, it's difficult.
Yes, so this book is all about, about that many aspects, personal relations, friends, girlfriends, that.
So this could be a nice book to give to someone this Christmas to reflect.
Yes.
To start the year 2020 reflecting.
Yeah.
What is your opinion about the world like it's coming now this year with all that chaos? We invited you to our concert of support to Chile, and we are very thankful for that. But and you did a great speech about it. But how do you see the world from your vision, from Simon Chilembo's vision, 2020? Because we are closing this year with a lot of chaos in the world.
Yeah. And that's the key, lots of chaos in the world. It's very frightening. On the one hand, we have these extremes, On the one extreme, there's all this chaos, there's this madness, that is owing to our leadership, people leading us, and leaders don't make themselves. We make, our leaders, that's through when there's elections, what kind of people we elect into offices, and there's also the illegitimate rulers, of course, military coups, etc., but I hold this strong view, that through democratic processes or not, we make, we get the leaders we make. So there is something there, that that makes us make the wrong choices of, people who are going to lead us. So if from that perspective, I'm really worried about the world, But what do we do? I mean, we have situation where it is theoretically possible that some lunatic somewhere, can press that atomic war button, with these superpowers, America, Russia, and North Korea, and everybody, that it's very scary. But on the other side, there's this elegance of science, science and technology, the possibilities, that this gives for mankind, artificial intelligence, arising from, this technological development. It's so exciting. It's so fascinating. And from that perspective, I feel that really we shouldn't have all these hustles. We shouldn't be hustling for land. We shouldn't be hustling for health and who's going to pay for this and that, because there is more than enough for everyone.
That's true.
In the world today. We need this. We need a major paradigm shift. From those who lead us politically, not in the least economically. So from that perspective, of optimism on the basis of science, and the possibilities it gives us, I believe we shall overcome. But the extreme end is that potential danger of atomic, of a nuclear warfare. So, but
That's true.
I don't think it will happen. Although, theoretically. So, but I feel good. We shall overcome one way or the other. We need more voices like this to be heard. We need more and more forums like this, so we can spread the word, that without fear, without faith.
Now the youth are doing revolutions, so around the world, they're taking the part of worrying for all of us.
Right. Yeah.
And it's strong, The world is seeing the youth coming in the front line. It's very strong to see those images of students around Hong Kong, Lebanon. It's only youth, the most of them. How do you think about the youth now in the future?
The youth, of today, they don't have the kind of hang-ups that we have. And they have a very solid foundation. What I like to talk about, springboards. Despite everything else, but then again, science and technology, the youth today have greater access, to tons and tons, of information, and not only access but also potential of distribution. We've seen how the SMS technology, WhatsApp, you name it, and everything, how information just goes on like that, to motivate, inspire, to activate, and all that. So I'm very optimistic, because of the presence, of the youth who may have their fears, but they are not based on what we, the older generation, have gone through, have seen. So, and I'm saying that, we must. I work. I've worked a lot with children and youth, and in my work, I've aspired, to, from my sporting life, this is karate, and so make them strong physically, mentally, instilling them, high senses of, ethics and moral, that be good human being, who will fight for the betterment, of society's life through the values, through these values that I've aspired to instill in them. It's never perfect, but I've done. That it's been that is my outset, and I hope I'll have another opportunity, to work around the same theme, and some of my earlier students, are carrying on the work. So people who are doing work with children, children and youth today, are doing a great job. We mustn't give up. We mustn't. We must also be good role models ourselves, because our children do what we do.
That's true.
If I'm an a-hole, children that I work with will be a-holes.
It's natural that we're going to say it that way.
Right.
So, how can you describe what your future plans are now, and how could we translate the next work of Simon Chilambo? Even if you don't have to say anything about the books and the name, or if you're writing something, but maybe people can follow your blog, or maybe maybe you have an idea of what you're planning to write in the future, or you're going to continue with these reflections.
I've had a very rich life. I've experienced, a lot of pain, but much more joy than pain. But the pain that I've experienced, has been, very intense, and during a very short phase, of my life, being in South Africa, just apartheid itself, the trauma of apartheid is sits very
Very
deep.
strong.
Yeah, in many of us. And also, I've experienced a lot of things, and also, from my sporting life, teaching karate, there's many aspects of sport. There's competition, there's all this ethical and moral awareness, that. So there's a lot of, I'm a non-practicing Catholic, the Lord's Prayer, there's a point there, say, and lead us not into temptation, Well, what if we were led into temptation?
We're just humans.
It's just humans. So it's all these things, that fascinate me so much, that I feel, I know, I have so much to tell about, to share my thoughts, we are different. People share their thoughts, through music, through playing football, or painting, etc. I write books.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
That's what you do, and you do it very good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate.
How are you planning to your Christmas? That's what I'm going to tell.
By Christmas.
Yeah, this Christmas it's not very. We're not very far from there.
Yeah.
Are you planning to stay here or are you going to travel?
I'm staying here.
You're staying here?
Yeah.
With all this cold and all this snow?
Actually, I mean,
do you like it?
Like it or not like it, let me say, I'm indifferent. Actually, it's very strange. But maybe it's still, I'm still coming out of the shock,
Because there's a lot of people that travels in this period,
No, but may they, travel safely and come back home safely.
You have to stay home writing more books, Simon.
Exactly. That's that's my Christmas,
And where can we find these books? If people want to find these books, where can they find?
They're available on Amazon, Amazon.com. Just search Simon Chilembo. And those who are in Oslo, we're able, because the thing is, these books are printed on demand, So at this stage, there's no, they're not available in the shops yet. Independent publishers, like myself, we have to do. We do the work ourselves, the marketing and distribution, and all that. So since I'm new in the business, I still have a lot to catch up with. However, if people would like to order through me, and so I can even, sign.
Yeah, that's better.
It's such fun,
It's better. We have to have a sign round with you one day.
Yes. So, but people, if they can Vips me, my telephone number. 9252-5032, if it's allowed to advertise, and or even just get in touch with me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter.
Maybe you can tell us your blog or your mail address. Maybe
yes,
maybe not on public, but maybe your blog, so people can get in touch with you there, or they can order from there too.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe you can give the blog again.
Yeah, chilembo.com.
Chilembo.com, just like that.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah.
That's good. But it's been very nice talking to you about your books. And if you want to tell us something more about what we talked about, you're free to do that now.
No, I say, you're doing a great job here, and although we have, our different profiles, given, of course, where we come from, our origins, but, we all are one. So the job that you do here, is great. We need more and more of these platforms here. The time, is moving out. For people say, sticking to one tag. I'm Latin American, so I'll have my unique radio station. No, it is possible to maintain that uniqueness, but at the same time allow. This interaction, with the rest of the global community, so So you're doing a great job here, and thank you very much.
No, thank you
for giving me, allowing me the opportunity. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. No, that's what we do. We try to integrate, like you said. We are representing a Latin American radio, but we also open to everyone and culture and music and everything from all around the world, because we live in the world, like you told us. We live in the world, and we are a part of this world. So thank you so much, Simon Chilembo, for this interview.
Thank you.
It's been an honor.
Honor has been mine. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You.